Track 12, do you know what time it is?
Verizon still says it's
5 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start by swearing in Sean Woodard. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Sean Odegaard, do solemnly swear
I, Sean Odegaard, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will discharge ethically, faithfully, and honorably the duties of a police officer
and that I will discharge ethically, faithfully, honorably the duties of a police officer
for the city of Medelia in the county of Watonwan, the state of Minnesota,
for the city of Medelia, the county of Watonwan, the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Sir, and then Rob has. Absolutely.
All right, I did the last word, so don't stab them.
Oh.
There we go. Got like both flags in there.
Jeez, the noun in there.
Let me out. I can't see anything without my glasses. Let me make sure.
Oh, we don't have to back that.
Doing it black and white.
Oh, yeah, no, it looks really good.
Go.
All right, and then Sean, we need you to come over and sign on the dotted line, and
Sit here.
we'll get you a copy tomorrow morning when you start. And then Colin, he forgot his keys, so if you would be so nice as to give the family a tour, since he's not gonna be able to get them in anywhere.
Thank you.
Great, thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Yep. Thanks, Sean. Congratulations.
All right, I told you it'd be short and sweet, so go check out the place.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Call the meeting to order. I need one additional administrator.
I would move that we approve the consent items with one additional item.
Okay.
Second.
Nice.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Well, I guess we'll discuss and take appropriate action on police officer hire Sean Odegaard.
I would move that we hire Officer Sean Odegaard.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. He's not even gonna stick around for it.
He's got the keys.
Discuss and take appropriate action on accepting Officer Colin Meadows' resignation.
I'll make a motion to approve.
He came over and asked if he could have an unbadging ceremony, and I said no. So
I begrudgingly
Yeah.
second that motion,
There you go.
but I understand.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I voted opposed, but I don't get a vote. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Discuss and take appropriate action on curb cut request for Healthy Water Co. doing business as Culligan Water.
Make a motion to accept that, curb cut request by Healthy Water. I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Discuss and take appropriate action on EDA meeting for proposed property sale for June 26, 2023 at 6 o'clock.
I'll make a motion to approve this
I would second.
meeting.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Discuss and take appropriate action on Juneteenth holiday.
I'll, make a motion to approve the, addition of Juneteenth.
And I will second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carried.
No, Cody, who made that motion and
I did.
seconded it?
He made the motion, I seconded.
Amy and Glenn, okay, thank you, sorry about that.
Okay. Discuss and take appropriate action on Peach loan subordination. Is that how you want to?
Amending the subordination for, Peach Construction and United Prairie Bank.
I'll make a motion to accept, or to, how did you say it again?
Amend it.
Amend them.
Yeah, and I would second that. I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Citizens communication.
Well, I was just wondering
Dick,
if the city,
Can you, because the camera's over there, just state your name and,
Nicholas Ruby, citizen of Virginia, I was just wondering, on behalf of the citizen slash firefighter of this town, if the city or fire department would be interested in putting in a grant to FEMA for a new fire truck. I spoke to a grant writer, I talked with Glenn a little bit. Spoke to a grant writer out of like the Sortel area. He's had great success and he charges by the mile. He figures it'd be like $600 to $1,000.
What's
Yeah.
this?
No, it's not, what's that?
That's what the cost would be to write the grant.
That's what he said. He charges
What's
by the
the
mile.
specifics of the grant?
What's that?
What's the specifics of the grant? Like, is it 80-20, 50-50?
Well, I mean, according to what the information he gave me, he said most matching funds are 5%. From what he said, I mean, I got his information here. I mean, we can give him a call if we want to get together. The guy's written grants for 25 plus years. He knows FEMA. He's got contacts there. We need a new fire truck.
What was the success rate of his?
I know he said about
How many
37 to 40% for a truck grant.
And how many has he written that he's?
I don't know about the truck grants, but he said he's gotten, I think, either 5 or 7 of them for the people.
So if you could for a second, so how much would the city be on the hook for?
I mean, like, from what he said, he charges by mileage for his fees. And he
Yeah, no,
told
I'm
me,
not worried about his fees, but if we get the grant,
well, I mean, whatever we write the grant for, I mean, if we're looking
Right.
at a $450,000 truck, we're on the hook for 5% of that.
okay,
I mean, if we're looking at a $500,000
the
truck.
city would be on the hook for that.
We already have the funds set aside, I guess I mean, that seems like a pretty cheap lottery ticket to me, if you can write that grant for $1,000.
If I can I, is it the AFG grant?
No, it's FEMA, but I talked to him and I told him we got a grant in, and he said it doesn't matter, you can have multiple grants in. He works with one department, they've won 5 grants in 5 years. And he said that our air pack / turnout gear grant is a micro grant, so it has nothing to do with.
It's not a micro grant. Micro
Well,
grant is
that-
underneath $50,000.
But I mean, this guy works with FEMA.
Yeah, but it's not a micro.
Well, okay, that's fair, but he said this would not interfere with us getting.
I'm
the
not
grant.
so worried about what we would pay for the grant writer himself. Cause I have no problem shaking down Main Street for that. What I'm worried about is what the city would then be responsible for if we got the grant.
Yeah, but I think if you have. a
Well, I mean, I've
budget,
done
you
my
can say-
research, I've talked to a couple truck dealers. I mean, I've talked with Custom Fire, I've talked to Pierce. I mean, Pierce can get you into something right off the line for about $380 to $390.
It'd be 5% of 500,000.
Custom, if you go, or with Pierce, if you did a build your own, or build by Pierce, Adam just got back to me, he was looking at about 510.
So, okay, that would be the cost of the truck?
Yeah, five, I mean, it depends on how, I mean, in my opinion, if we go with the grant, and we write the grant, and we get it, I think Pierce puts out a great product, but I think they're a number-driven company. Custom Fire is a family company out of Wisconsin, just like what we used to have here in town. And I mean, they could get us into a truck for about $500,000. And I know that because I talked to Scott Lumpy, one of the salesmen there, and he put together some numbers for me.
So if we did get the grant, we'd be responsible for about 25,000.
If that's 5% of, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be 5%.
Yeah,
And that's what I was.
Yeah, and that's not an issue.
I mean, I got all the guys' information here. I think we give him a call someday and just make sure, when he told me, he was driving and he told me, he's like, you know, I charge by the mileage, and he's like, where are you at? I'm like, hey, we're down by Mankato. He's like, well, I'm driving, I can't do those numbers, but I'm guessing you're looking at $600 to $1,000 bucks.
Okay, can I bring up one thing? Okay, if the fire department, all the fire department has gotten together, discussed the purchasing a new pumper, and they've all agreed upon purchasing a used one. But if we write this grant, can we use it for a different truck? I mean,
That would be my suggestion. If I was in charge, I'd turn around with that money and either lay it up, just hang on to it for a few more years, and then get a second pumper, a brand new one, and get rid of the two we got. Or we put it towards the rescue or something else.
I don't think allocating the money after it would possibly be received is gonna be the issue.
Well, the issue right now is that the fire department has met and they have discussed this purchase of this used pumper. And also have met with all the townships, and all the townships agreed to a used pumper because everybody has agreed that this is the most feasible way to purchase a pumper. There's just $510,000 is a lot of money.
Right.
And so that's where we were at about that 200,000 range, and everybody felt comfortable with it. That's why I'm saying I'm not opposed to hiring a grant writer and going out for something, but what if something comes up and we've already agreed upon
Well,
this
here's the thing,
200
can we
some
do the grant
thousand?
and?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Can I interject? And I think there's a way that both of us can do this.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, the challenge is, I'm hesitant. I believe what Nick is describing through FEMA's AFG grant, it's the Aid to Firefighters grant. And that will reopen again at the end of this year, be awarded out. Now, we're going into our second year of grant, somebody who specializes again in firemen's grants. Second year grant, we've not heard anything, they've started awarding grants. So the current grant we have out there, just so everyone knows, and it's the second year we tried to do it, and it's a higher priority item than apparatus. SCBA PPE is their top priority for grants. Anything below 50 is a micro grant, anything above 50 is a grant, and that's what we applied for. So the grant we have out there is about $360,000 right now. And that will buy 31 sets of turnout gear, and it'll buy 16 sets of SCBA. Our SCBA, which is
Are
our
those separate grants though?
Nope, we did them together.
Okay.
Because we're
What I
behind.
mean is,
Oh.
so that grant, is that separate from what we would do with?
It would be, however, the way they weigh these grants, it would be a different grant, and I'm not against doing another grant. Hell, I think it would be a great idea. The challenge is we tried applying for grants for tankers before we started buying our 2 new tankers through the AFG program, and that was when we had Chief Den, but we never got them. And the challenge is that we're just at that spot that were almost too big versus too small, because those tankers, they go off of the age of the apparatus. So our tankers, if anybody remembers what we had for tankers before, one was a 1979, one was a 86 Ford, and the other one was our Kimball, which was our nice one, and I think that was an 88. So the thing is that they're hard, they're very competitive. I mean, there's not departments that don't do it, and I'm not against it, but I would not want to sacrifice our PPE grant
What,
for this grant, nor would I want to sacrifice replacing 42. However, if we decide to do another grant, once the AFG grant that we currently have in there is awarded, I'd have no problem putting that towards 46, because you gotta remember, our other tanker is only really 4 years new.
well, I mean,
So-
when I talked to Neil, the grant writer, he said one thing has nothing to do with another.
Okay, so could
And
you
he
and
said
Nick
you can-
figure out if this could coexist, or whatever you wanna say, with the grants? Have no issues doing the grant and still getting a used truck.
And-
I mean, at 25,000, if you do get the grant, heck.
Right.
Oh,
I mean,
let's do it.
he got, I don't, he said there's a misconception about what goes on at FEMA.
But-
And the biggest one is whether you can have more than one grant and get more than one grant, and he said that's one of the biggest ones. And he said, is about the size of the department.
I
He
think
got
we reach-
Sartell, a city of 19,000 people, a brand new tanker.
I think for reassurance that it's not gonna pump out another grant would be to have him sit down and give us and show us in the printing of the FEMA AFG grants that it's not gonna mess with.
Yeah, I would
Well, I
like to see
mean, do
that.
we wanna get him down here then and speak
Yes.
with him?
Because
I mean,
for grant purposes, let's say you got a used truck in the meantime, could you use that to replace 46?
Yes.
Instead of 42, and then you still have 42, which is an older truck.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because theoretically, we're not getting rid of either one to begin
Yeah.
with. So that would still be in service, absolutely.
So. would-
The challenge is, though, the challenge I foresee still is, I mean, the reality of it is that if getting and I'm just making broad strokes, if getting a free truck, or essentially a free truck at 5% was super easy, I just don't wanna hinge our replacement plan on that. Right, but if getting a new truck was easy, the thing is that everyone would go get one. Does that make sense? And they're pretty rare. Now, in our area, we've had some success. Garfer just got a new truck, partly because of their demographics. They were replacing a 1984, and Truman just got one because they were replacing an old truck. A while ago, I remember Good Thunder got one for a new aerial because they bought an old used aerial out of Mankato, then used that truck as their basis for a year to buy, and then got a new one. But that's been a few years now. I'm not against the idea, but I will say that our PPE, which is a higher priority for FEMA replacement,
Yeah.
still has
So
not been replaced.
We do not wanna mess with that.
Right.
We don't wanna mess with that. The only thing I would say is, there's money out there, and a town our size is a rounding error for some of the budgets that are happening at the state and the federal level. So to Nick's point, we put in for the grant, I would say we go for it, to look at it, as long as we can be assured it's not gonna mess
Right.
with the PPE.
Yeah, if it doesn't mess with the other grant. then-
Yeah, I'd wanna see that as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, let's go for it. As long as it doesn't mess with the PPE.
So would we have to pay the fees for him to come down to tell, or would he just be able to email us?
I
in
mean,
the
somebody
AFG
can make him,
guideline?
he's got his phone number in here.
Well, I'd wanna see it though, but I mean, could you check with them, and then we can talk about it at the next meeting?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no, in our budget, we have money in our budget to be able to do the grant as well, so.
Well, and maybe that's something that we should be looking at as a more of an annual or more of a, biannual type of fee for hiring a grant writer to write these grants, if that's gonna, increase success rate. I don't know what our success rate has been, writing them ourselves, but if we can really get them rolled for between $600 and $1,000, and that increases our odds, I think
600 go without, yeah. Yeah, the last AFG grant we got was for our gear, which was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
But we've only tried 2 years in a row since then, that was for the tanker. And we
Well, let's
did
be
not get
brutally
it.
honest, we got the best fire department around. And if we need to do a little bit more to
Do
get.
you wanna write this grant?
No. But I will find the funding
Oh, no, I'm not worried about the funding
Yeah,
at
I'm
all.
not worried about the $1,000. I just wanna make sure, if we can make sure that it doesn't,
Right.
Yeah, that's my
Mess
only
with
concern.
the other
I don't wanna
grant
mess with
that-
PPE, cause that,
I would say.
for a lot of reasons, is more critical.
But on the flip side, too, now I'll just say, tonight at 8:30, the officers are meeting to discuss, if we wanna look at a truck that we currently saw in northern Minnesota, a 2012. That would probably be about 720 built, that is 280, but it'll probably be close to 200,000, our line, because they have to, refurbish the pump, change out the pump. But you know, that's something that has a lot of momentum behind it, that I'd hate to lessen.
No, I would say still,
Right.
Oh,
there's
absolutely.
still
I
room
think
to get
there's-
a used one and a new one,
Yep.
if the grant is awarded.
Well, yeah, and I agree, I would equate it to a lottery ticket. You're buying a lottery
Right.
ticket, and it's a cheap lottery ticket for what the end result will be.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
bank on it, but it's
I agree, yep, that's a good idea.
Okay.
worth looking at.
So,
I'll,
yeah,
I'll call him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or this evening and see. But
okay,
he, I mean, it sounded like it didn't matter, but I'll double check with him.
okay, thank you.
And the only reason why I bring up the concern, Nick, not that I don't believe what he said, but our grant writer said to put it as one grant rather than two separate grants, because our chances increase by only having one grant in the pool versus two. So that would be my worry about here, because we could have done a separate
Well,
SCBA
and
grant.
chief, we
That's
need
it.
you and your officers to make sure we as a council don't make a mistake because we try to go for too much.
Oh, right, well, and you know, and that's why we, you know, if we bought a $500,000 truck, why are we looking at you? There's not a guy on the department or gal that would not wanna go and have a brand new spanking new truck. But, you know, a $500,000 truck, we did the math on it. $500,000 truck, if we used it 20 times a year, and I'm not talking driving it 20 times a year, but if we used it 20 times a year, the pump itself, and we had that truck for 30 years, it's $833.33 every time we turn it on. And we have to be realistic to the.
Charge for every time you turn it on.
Yeah, and we don't even use a pumper 20 times a year in terms of actually using the pump. We probably use it, because we only have about 40 fire calls a year, 50 fire calls, and only 8 of those are structure fires. But we use it for testing and that, but it's $833, and you know, we have to be responsible to the citizens in terms of, does that make sense? Because if we can get something for 200,000, you know, our truck 46, now admittedly that was used as a city pump before, but our 1996 truck, sitting back there with 3,300 miles on it. So they're not high-use trucks, and so I think the way that we maximize dollars, especially when we have needs for radios, SCBA's, gear, standard
And that's
equipment.
what we absolutely do not wanna get in the way of.
Right,
We wanna make sure that happens first.
right.
The only thing I would add to that is, there are others in the state that are getting this money.
Mhm.
If the state's putting the money out.
Yeah,
that's
I
what we
agree.
do.
I'm open to that, to have one written.
But, to your point, not in the way of the PPE.
Right. Yeah, we're behind on that right now, so.
All right,